confession, one, and two, a question, of course. My confession is I've never watched Cowboy Bebop. I know, blasphemous.
You get out of this room right now.
So I just want to personally say I apologize. I know of you, I know of your work there. I've heard snippets of it, but never watched it.
No, pride yourself on being a bebop virgin. That's okay. We have something to look forward to.
I'll definitely will. You know
Yeah,
that.
and the Blu-ray is coming out. What a great way to experience
I'm
it.
waiting for it.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for that to purchase. But until then, I'm oblivious to it. Except for the ending, I do know what happens.
It's coming soon from Funimation. I don't get any money for that.
Regardless. So my question was this: just figuring out all the variety of characters you've done. How do you come up with a voice like Gilmon, for example? Like it's crazy how you're normally known for your deep voice, and then Gilmon with like this cute little thing.
Yeah, well, I look at the picture. You know, that's what really conjures the image in my brain, and that's the way I've always functioned. When I was 12 years old, I worked at my grandfather's bookstore. He had this beautiful bookstore in Hollywood called Cherokee Books. And all my uncles worked there, and my hippie uncle, Bert, had the comic book section up in the rafters, kind of tucked away from everybody else, because his hair was like this long. Everybody else was very conservative in our family. And he would sit there playing his pipes and doing whatever else up there. I don't even know what he did up there. But he had this great comic book collection. It was one of the greatest collections in the world. And my first job when I was like 12 years old was to go there during the summer and sort comic books. And as I was reading those comic books, all these voices would conjure in my head. And they probably do for you guys too, I would imagine, right? I mean, do you get voices in your head when you're looking at manga or comics, that sort of thing? And you imagine what those characters would sound like if they were voiced. And so I did that, and I did that with pretty much every comic I picked up, from Archie to the DC stuff, Marvel, everything. Playboys. Whatever would come in. Well, there would be a lot of those too, because I would sort through everything that came in, and he would buy these estate things. So yes, I would put voices to the models in Playboy too. That's crazy. Anyway, so those voices were always floating around in my head. And so when I look at something like Gilmon, I was actually there in that session, my first session on season 3 of Digimon. I was there to voice another character entirely. And they said, well, you know, we have this character, Gilmon, and we don't know what to do with it. We've got this other actor who voiced some stuff on it, and it's not quite what we're looking for. We don't even know what we're looking for. And I just looked at him and I went, well, I think he talked like this. And they said, oh my God, that's it. That's it. Do that again. And I said, got bread? And they said, oh my, that's it. Just do that. And you're hired, just do it. And so it was just the very first thing that came into my brain. And that's the way I function. It's always an organic process. Wolverine was the same thing. I'd read the comics earlier on when my voice wasn't deep enough to say, hey, Bub, I'm the best there is at what I do. But later on, when I went to audition for that, that's what I did for the audition, because that's what I've been hearing all along. So it has to be that automatic when you get into the booth, and especially these days, because budgets are getting tighter and tighter. And when you go in to do a session, you are required to do 3 voices in most sessions, unless you're a celebrity and they're paying you for the 1 voice. But in most sessions, you have to be able to change it up like that. And many times I'll go in and I'll have practiced a dialect the night before, and I'll get there and they'll say, you know, I was practicing an Irish dialect the night before, and I go into the studio and they say, well, we decided to make it Australian, go. And you've got to be prepared to switch it up immediately. They may have changed the character design completely the night before you go into record, and you've got to go from something like this to something like this. And it might be exactly the same character, you know. So it has to become an automatic thing. And that was the hardest part when I was first starting, is not knowing what was going to come out of my throat before I opened my mouth. Now at least I know pretty much what the sound is going to be like. I know my range. I know muscularly inside the muscle memory of my throat what's going to be coming out. So that's really helpful. I can actually look at something and know that I can just nail it right away.
Thank you.
Thank you.